You're listening to Keith Engle, the host of TGI Sports Talk on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk's MLB update. It's great to have you with us. Our last show of 2024. Want to welcome everybody watching on Facebook. I want to thank everybody. I want to welcome and thank everybody watching on Facebook, our TGI Sports Talk page, our personal page. Everybody watching and has watched on YouTube and Twitter. The National Streaming Sports Roku channel, all the groups that have allowed me to share this MLB update show and all my other shows. I thank you, including John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities, Flo and the gang from the Bottom Line Sports. Let's Talk Sports. Tanner D and the gang do a great job over there. Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, the love for baseball. Ken Krause, Golf Buds, Sports of All Sorts, and many more. I want to thank Ralph Williams for his kind of partnership as we promote each other's shows. Ralph Williams from RW Media, specifically the Sports Corner. On what? He's on YouTube. He's on Facebook. He's going to have some radio news to come, specifically the Sports Corner, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays with Smoke and Jim Frazier. I've guested there a few times and always like it. DDH, thumbs up. We made it through another year, buddy, and I know that you've been watching over us. And SeatGeek, been a great addition, sponsorship to all of our shows here at National Streaming Sports and specifically TGI Sports Talk. All my shows. Download that app. If you haven't scanned that QR code in the upper right-hand corner, at least it's my right hand. Oh, maybe it's your left hand. I don't know. Do it. So you've got it when you're looking for a ball game. I think you can get concerts. I think you can get anything there. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for the MLB update. We've got one more live show, the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, before we end 2024, and we'll talk about some of the top stories in sports. We'll look at some of the top stories in MLB in 2024, review some of that. You guys can give me your opinions. And we'll look at some of the people that have left us. There's a whole group of people. It's funny, Drew just texted me, don't know if he's here yet, a little while ago with a whole list of people that have passed, and sometimes we miss them. Right? We tried to do it. Like Ricky Henderson sadly passed away this last week. A shock to me, by the way. The Man of Steel felt like the Man of Steel. If you'd seen anything of Ricky Henderson in the last few years, he did not look like a 64, now 65-year-old man who might pass away. Don't take days for granted. Don't take anything for granted. Pneumonia, bad thing. But we'll look at some of those other guys and see what memories are jogged. And the news of the day. There's been some free agent signings and whatnot. Ronnie Bear. Good afternoon. Oh, there's Alan. A's president just turned his resignation. I don't see that as a top story of 2024. But thank you, Alan. By the way, it's not a college football show. We had that yesterday, and we'll have that, by the way, a day late and 3 hours early next week. That'll be Thursday at 4:00 next week rather than normal Wednesday at 7. One more week because of the holidays. But and on this morning's Mac and Jack show, they both had furrowed brows when I said Navy would beat Oklahoma. Sorry, Alan. I don't think that game's over yet, so I probably shouldn't count my chickens. But anyway, so the A's president resigned. Is anybody going to notice? A's president resigns as of December 31st after 8 seasons. A job not well done, Mr. Caval. Ugh. What else is going on news-wise? I do want to get into some of the top stories. And there's Ronnie Bayer, by the way. Merry Christmas to you, Ronnie. Good to have you with us. Ronnie's been chiming in from Texas on some of our shows. This one more than maybe some others. I think Ronnie's been around for the Sunday Stream of Consciousness a couple times as well. Good to have you with us, Ronnie, as well as all our viewers. We're happy to have with us all the time. Some of our normal Rat Pack is not here yet, but we'll see if they show up. Again, I want to talk a little bit about the top stories in Major League Baseball for 2024. Obviously, the great season by Ohtani probably tops that list. The signing of Soto. We'll get through some other things as well. And some of the people that have passed. As I get older, heading into my 65th year, those guys that I followed very closely in my youth are starting to slowly disappear. A couple notes before we get into some of that. Gleyber Torres signs with the Tigers. Good luck. Again, remember Gleyber Torres is the guy whose base running strategy is run until he gets tagged, and he has all the baseball acumen of like a 5-year-old who's playing t-ball. Sorry, I don't mean to knock Gleyber on the way out the door, but he just doesn't. He doesn't play fundamental baseball, and he doesn't look like he has the acumen that you need to be a baseball player. I'm not surprised it's only a 1 year. Again, this is not. He's going to, according to the Tigers, he's going to play second base. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've seen articles that say second base and DH. Drew, and hello, Drew. How are you? Happy Hanukkah to you, and a Merry Christmas to the rest of your part of the family. Merry Christmas to everybody. And this is our last show of the 2024. So Happy New Year to those who I won't see on Sunday. So Gleyber signs there. I'm not a big Gleyber fan. I haven't been. I've made that pretty clear on all my shows. If you watch Gleyber play day in and day, if you watch just highlights and see Gleyber play, make some really interesting plays, he'll have hot streaks with his bat. But when you watch Gleyber play day in and day out, awful. You're welcome, my friend. Not awful, but I mean, the thing is, he tries to get by on pure talent, and I hate that. Anyway, Walker Buehler signs with the Red Sox. I think that's a nice sign, and I'm not surprised, by the way, about the Gleyber 1 year, Drew, because I don't think anybody's going to be willing to invest 5 or 6 years, even 4 years, in Gleyber Torres. He's a guy without a position on a lot of teams. He's not a good defensive player anywhere on the field. There's been talk about putting him in center field over the years. DH might be his position. Then get somebody in to run for him, too, because, as I said, the strategy and the base pass is like head-scratching most of the time. Jock Peterson signs with Allen's Rangers. Nice one-dimensional pickup there. I don't know why I'm so I'm so negative here at the holidays. I'm sorry. My old classmate Andrew McCutcheon re-signs with the Pirates. Manea re-signs with the Mets. Nathaniel Lowe, you lose your first baseman over there. Allen, he signs with the Nationals. Yankees, a bit of a head scratcher with Goldschmidt signed to first base, but when they missed out on Tucker, they missed out on a Walker. They went to plan B, which was Bellinger and Goldschmidt, and I can live with that short term. Goldschmidt's had one bad season. There could be an uptick. If not, what are you going to do? Still holes to fill, though. And Santana goes back to the Indians, where he played. I think he came up with the Indians, if I'm not mistaken. Phillies with a nice trade for Luzardo from the Marlins. And the same Indians, as I mentioned, pick up Santana and trade Naylor. I don't understand that trade-off at all. What do you got here, Ronnie? With all the passing of the baseball great, you know, that's a great one. Johnny Bench is a good one. We're going to go through this too. I do want to go through the list of players. Well, some of them we'll go through quickly, and we can reminisce about some others. Ricky Henderson passing. Again, to me, you know, Ricky was could be can't say it right. How do I want to say this? Polarizing figure, I guess. I'll give you a couple other names here in a second, Arnie. With Ricky's passing, Johnny Bench would move up. I would say Ricky was a better player than Johnny Bench, quite frankly. But Ricky passed away, unfortunately, this past week. And our best goes to his family and friends. You know, so let's try this. I want to check this out, Ronnie. It's a great question. And I just need a couple of reminders because I don't know who's alive anymore. Let's look at this. 20 greatest living baseball players. And we haven't gone through the dead ones yet. But you mentioned a really good one. I'll mention Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan will forever be underrated. I'm sorry. I know there's people think he's overrated. Nolan Ryan will be forever underrated. Don't throw a lot of metrics at me. Ken Griffey Jr., George Brett, Pedro, Yaz, a great player. I would say Yaz and Bench. Gaylord Perry. Didn't Gaylord Perry pass away? This could have been a little while ago. I believe Steve Carlton just turned 80 years old. There another one? Burt Blyleven, no. Wade Boggs, no. Cal Ripken, no. Mike Trout, no. Albert Pujols, no. Ricky just passed away. Greg Maddux is an interesting pick. Mike Schmidt, an interesting pick. A-Rod, I won't consider for, I guess, obvious reasons. Randy Johnson, Clemens, Willie's gone. Barry Bonds. Listen, if we take steroids out, Bonds is the greatest living player. Clemens is top 5 without steroids. If I don't consider steroids. Bonds, Clemens, Ryan. Maddux, Schmidt. How about that? There's my top 5. If you want to throw steroids out, then I got to pick up more guys and drop my top 2. I'll put Griffey in there. Colt Keith, ironically, he's not. That's a good point. Entrenched at second base for the Tigers. Well, again, who knows? Guys change position right and left, so who knows? But I'd be playing Colt Keith at second base before I play Gleyber Torres. Drew, I'd probably play you at second base before I played Gleyber Torres there. No disrespect intended. Jimenez signs with Tampa Bay. Yeah. It's already getting ugly. I mean, there's still some good players left, like Burns, who wait for this to fall, the other shoe to fall here. Matt Gage signs with Matt Gage, by the way, from Broad Auburn Perth, which is kind of my alma mater. Although there was no Broad Auburn in that when I graduated. We had a real school district. Anyway, Matt Gage from Broad Auburn Perth High School and Siena College. Matt was a really good left-hander. Pitched with the Amsterdam Mohawks as well, and pitched very, very well. Drew's got another good one, Sandy Koufax. Sandy Koufax is a name we don't think about a lot. Koufax is his career is so condensed. He's a unique situation. I mean, that's a place where you look at, he was the best pitcher in baseball by far for what? Help me out, Drew. 5 years? I don't know if what do you win, 127 games? But again, I get it. When you're as dominant as Sandy Koufax, I mean, there are people that would argue Sandy Koufax doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame because of longevity issues. See how close I am. I have 127, and Ronnie's a Dodger fan. You can speak up on this situation, Ronnie. How many games did he win? Why do I have 127 in my head? I'm wrong. 165. I'm not that far off. Sandy Koufax, and pitchers will win 165 games to get into the Hall of Fame now for a lot different reasons than Sandy Koufax. But Sandy Koufax was dominant basically from, I guess, 62 to 66 when he retired. His last 5 years are just, or last 4 years are just phenomenal. 25-5, 19-5, 26-8, 27-9, ERAs of 1.88. You know what? He's going in my top 5. You were absolutely right about Alonso's market drying up, and he may end up, Boros is an idiot, by the way. And by the way, I don't know who else Boros repped in the first base pool, Drew, but if I'm any player, I don't want my agent representing me and all the players in the same kind of stratosphere that I'm in, good or bad. I mean, I want you working for me, not for multiple people, and getting jobs, getting them jobs where I could be getting them. You know, the Astros might have been a fit for Alonso. I like Christian Walker a lot better, though, even though he's a little older. Voted for the same power. And maybe I look at shortcomings too much, and forget the good stuff. I'm probably guilty of that. In the new year, I'll try to be more objective, I guess. But I've been very harsh on Pete Alonso, and he thinks he's Dave Kingman. I mean, I had this argument with a guy who said the Yankees should have signed him and not Goldschmidt. I'm telling you again, I'll take Goldschmidt on his way down before I'll take Alonso. I just will. Anyway, Boros is going to have an issue trying to give him the money he wanted, and 7 years for. Are we talking? Anyway, I thought that was related. Yeah, and he does this to somebody every year because he represents too many guys. He'll have trouble getting the years he wants as much as the money, Drew. He might get money for 2 years, maybe a year. He might be signing a 1-year contract somewhere. We're heading into January, 6 weeks from spring training. We've seen this movie before, haven't we? Would you say 7 years for Koufax, though? I wouldn't, Drew. Drew, are you referring to Koufax at 7 years? If I go back 7 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 tops. He was 18-13 with a 3.52 ERA in 1961. I really can't count on myself till the year after that. I got to say 5. I mean, he was a good pitcher. I don't think he was, he struck out 269 and 255 innings. Had 35 complete games. Oh, I'm sorry. He started 35 games, completed 15. To me, that still wasn't the Koufax we came to know. The next year at 14-7, though, the ERA, he shaves a run off it. And the strikeouts are still there. When the no-hitters get started here? They don't keep... I mean, you can make an argument. He started that dominance in 7 for sure. Koufax is a good pick there, though. He'll settle for 6. If I go back 6, so you'll take the 18-13 with a 3.52 ERA. That's not necessarily dominant in 1961, though, I'd argue. I mean, certainly from that point on, he had 2 years where his ERA was over 2 after that. So again, even if you want to consider 6 years, he was dominant even by his own standard, earlier standard then. He was certainly striking out guys. He had started to harness the walks because walks were a big problem for him. Still walked 96 in 61, but in 255 innings, where he'd walked 100 and 175 the year before. So that is where he began his climb. I'll give you that, Drew. Ronnie hasn't come up with a comment there. Ronnie might have left us. I want to look at some of the guys that have passed on this year, though. And well, some of these will go by quickly, and we can also talk about the top stories of 2024. Again, Ichiro, good grief, Ohtani. Certainly, this is a remarkable, historic season, topped off by that unbelievable game. And then there's the contract of Soto, and there's other stuff to talk about, obviously. Some of the guys that have passed, and I'm going to go since chronologically from the first of the year. Billy Gardner, manager with the Royals and the Twins, I want to say, played in the major leagues. Buddy Harrelson, kind of a spark plug, really good defensive shortstop for the Mets in 69 and 73, winner in World Series and loser in a World Series. Never hit much. Was an all-star a few years. Played 15 years in the majors. Some of these guys I don't know real well, I'll skip over. If you know them, bring them up. Johnny Jeter, not terribly familiar with him. Rod Swanson. Steve Skaggs, I know was I remember him playing. Let me click on his name here. I think he played with the Orioles, didn't he? The A's. Take it back. 2 years. But we want to give these our thoughts and prayers go with all these people's families. And if I watched you play or read about you or know about you, then I appreciate the joy you gave me in your career, whoever you might be. Don Lasseter, Jimmy Williams, really good manager, coach first under Bobby Cox, became a manager in Toronto, later with the Red Sox. John Pergrant, Al McBean, Brant Alaya, I remember quite a bit early in my baseball development. He played until 65 to 72. Jim Hanna, Don Gullett, fabulous pitcher from 70-78. Arm problems really shortened his career and effectiveness even while he was pitching. Signed a big contract with the Yankees in 1978 or 77 and had I think he went 14-4 before the arm totally fell apart. Really good pitcher. Came up at a very young age with the Big Red Machine in 1970. Tom Qualters, Larry Demery, John Oldham, Jose DeLaunay, 83 to 95 with the White Sox, probably the Cardinals. Let me look quickly. Oh, Pittsburgh. Yeah, I forgot about Pittsburgh. Phillies a little bit. That's a good name to throw out there. Throw out any of your thoughts about any of these guys, by the way, guys. Hector Ortiz. UL Washington, I remember with the Kansas City A's. Played with the toothpick in his mouth. Ed Ott, really good catcher. I think he played some outfield with Kansas City. Was on those We Are Family Pirates, the World Series champions in 1979. Bill Plummer, backup catcher with the Reds, among other teams, most likely. Jim McAndrew, one of those great young pitchers with that Met staff in 68, 69, had some arm problems and never really fulfilled his promise, but was a good young pitcher and certainly somebody I remember in my youth. Odell Jones, who I remember with, I want to say the Rangers and maybe the Pirates. Let's cut that this card just for the hell of it. Pirates and Rangers and Orioles and Mariners. So again, I remember him mostly with the Rangers and the Pirates. Chuck Seelbach, Wayne Shore, Kevin Batiste, Pat Zachary, pitched with Cincinnati, became part of that famous Met trade that when Dick Young pretty much chased Tom Seaver out of New York all by himself. The Mets traded Seaver, the franchise, to the Reds. If you remember, Pat Zachary, part of that deal with Doug Flynn, who we've had on our one-on-one with Keith Engle interview show. Great guy. Played well for the Mets. Good glove, not much of a stick. Really good, fun guy to talk to, by the way. Steve Henderson, who looked like he was going to be a future star in the outfield, and several other bodies. Jerry Grody, Met great. A lot of Mets on here this year, it seems. Met, great catcher, great defensive catcher, and a leader of that pitching staff. I always liked watching Jerry Grody play. He was like old school, man. Old school. I'll get to your clients in a second, Drew. I just want to go through this list and we'll go back to that. If you have any comments on any of these guys I'm talking about, feel free to put them up. Gordy Lund, Larry Brown, I remember being a backup infielder for the Indians and some other teams. Drew mentioned earlier, you remember their names from Stratomatic cards, and Larry Brown's a guy that I remember from that and other games I played as a kid. Ken Holtzman, former left-handed pitcher with the A's, really good pitcher with the A's. Before that, with the Cubs, pitched a couple no-hitters with in his career. Pitched with the Yankees, the Orioles. Billy Martin hated him. Whitey Herzog, the White Rat, great manager. World Series winner with the Cardinals. Couldn't get over the hump in Kansas City. Couldn't get past those great Yankee teams in the late 70s. Whitey Herzog. Carl Erskine, former Dodger. Arani, another Dodger pitcher. Dave McCarty, who I do remember playing, I think, first base. I want to say, let's see, Minnesota. How am I doing? Oh, no, Red Sox. That's bad. He only played one season. Oh, that's game start. Sorry. He must have pitched. Twins, I was right there. Twins, Giants, Mariners, Royals, Athletics, Red Sox. I love looking at some of these names. Don't even know this one. Joe Shipley, Buzz Stevenson, Sean Burroughs, a sad story, was a Little League World Series hero. His dad was an MVP in the American League in 1974 for Allen's Rangers. Had a good year with the Braves after he got traded there. Sean Burroughs was a Little League World Series star, and then had a lot of hoopla coming through college, and then Padres. I think he played with the Padres and maybe somebody else, but had some substance abuse issues and some other issues in his life, and he died way too young. Kuno Berrigan, don't know. Billy Murphy, Hank Foyles, John Upham, Tony Scott. I remember being a very good defensive center fielder, could play left field, right field, center field. Always seems to end up on my bench. When I play Stratomatic 365, which is played, it's basically played. It's still the same game. You just don't roll the dice and do all that. I've always got a league that I'm going, and I almost always play 70s unless I'm in the mystery tournament. But Tony Scott often ends up on my bench as a backup outfielder. Hank Allen, Danny Fife, Mike Brumley, former Oriole for sure. Willie Mays, of course, the greatest player. You know, Willie Mays, I said when he passed, his numbers weren't what Henry Aaron's were in home runs at the end of the day and RBIs, mainly partly because he broke down sooner. But when Willie was at his best, he was like the only 5-tool player out there, the best 5-tool player out there. His former teammate, Orlando Cepeda, Jimmy Hurst, Jerry Walker. Orlando Cepeda, by the way, one of the best of the first wave of DHs in the American League, as well as having a great National League career. Bad knees held him back. Jerry Walker, Nelson Chittum, Bob Chulspa, Matt Heald, Mike Ferraro, longtime Yankee and Kansas City third base coach, managed a bit in Kansas City after the passing of Dick Hauser. Denny LeMaster, Gary Dorado. I'm only up to July. Ryan's Murata, Doug Creek, Jim Armbarger, left-handed pitcher. I remember mostly with the Rangers. Billy Bean. I believe the first Major League Baseball player to come out as gay, one of the first. I know that Billy, Glenn Burke were kind of around the same time frame. I'm not sure which one came out first. Mike Cubbage, another former Met, played with the Twins. He managed the Mets, third base coach for the Mets. Bad utility player. I think he played with the Rangers as well. Jim Brady, Pete Danley, Don Wirt, some may remember, Bob Blaylock, Wayne Graham, Ed Kranepool. I just finished, before he passed away, I just finished his autobiography, and it was really, really interesting. It's really cheap on Amazon if you want to get it. If you got a Kindle, I think I might have got it for like $3. It's a great read and interesting, a staple in New York, but Ed had some issues with the Mets and wanted out of town a few times. But a lifetime Met came up at 17 years old, an original Met. Minnie Mendoza, Harry Chappis, Doug Bird, another guy ends up at the back of my bullpen in Strato a lot. John Bumgartner, Joey J, Ozzie Virgil, third base. I remember him coaching third base for the Phillies for a long time. He was a catcher, I believe, one of the first wave of Dominicans to come over here, along with the Alous and such. Of course, Pete Rose passed away here a couple of months ago, I guess. I'm looking right at it, September 30th. What can you say? Pete Rose is a tremendous player and caused a lot of his own issues. The great Louis Tion, who I had on the one-on-one interview show a couple of years ago, was a lot of fun to chat with him. I still chat with his son Dan once in a while. Again, borderline Hall of Famer. We've had this discussion, and I'll get your comments here in a second. I see Drew talking about Rico Cardi, Galen Pitts, Bud Daly, Rudy May. I always liked Rudy May, and I don't know if this is one that might have got by me. Pitched with the Yankees a couple different times, was really effective both times, I would say. Might have had 3 tours of duty with the Yankees. Came up with the Angels, had a big curveball. Pitched with the Orioles, pitched with the Expos. Fernando Valenzuela, everybody remembers Fernando Mania. Great pitcher. Probably pitched too much. We don't know how old he was because he had to, when he came here, he was 20 or 30. We didn't know which. Ray Samprock, Don Veris, whatever. Al Ferreira, friends on Facebook with him. Don Young. I'm almost to the end here, Drew, so we'll get to your Rico Cardi because Rico Cardi passed away just a month or so ago. Gail Henley, Bob Kelly, Al Fitzmaurice, another guy had been working to get on the show, and he passed away somewhat unexpectedly in December. Bill Melton, Merv Retman, great, 2 great players. We talked about them recently on the show. Not great players, very good Major League Baseball players. Jack Delario, Roberto Gomez, Rocky Calavito we talked about recently. Gary Sutherland passed away, and of course the great Ricky Henderson. So anyway, let me look here. Rico Cardi won a batting title. Brent and Leah had some power. But Rico Cardi had some power too. There's some really good books about the Rangers, the early 70s Rangers, mid 70s Rangers when Billy Martin managed, and Billy Hunter. And I recently had Jim Sundberg on, who was part of those teams. And Rico was a DH on that team. He was a DH with the Indians, I think, that first year of the DH, and he could hit, man. He did win a batting title. He could hit like 363. Bad knees. Rico Cardi would have been a great player. And we'd be talking about him totally different if he had 2 good wheels. He could hit for power. He hit for average, obviously. Brandon Leah, I remember having some power. Bill Voss, I don't remember a lot. I do remember Don Wirt being a great fielder. Bill Voss, I don't remember a lot of. But again, these are a lot of the guys, and every year now I go by and I go, maybe I don't know a lot of these guys on this list, but there's always, however many there are, there's always like 20 guys, and I go, oh my God. And then we start getting guys that are my age passing away, like Ricky Henderson. And Ricky, listen, I would have thought Ricky was immortal. If you'd seen anything of Ricky in videos and whatnot recently, hell, he looked like he could play now. We just don't know, man. Make use of every day. Any thoughts you have on those guys we can bring up and talk about? Boris Clients. I was trying to get at the first basemans more, Drew, to see who else. So he doesn't have any other first baseman in that class. So Walker, Goldschmidt, any of these guys. I'm trying to think of somebody else. So anyway, but these are, let's see. Manaea has gotten signed. Snell got signed. This year he got his money. Kikuchi, I think he did well by. Conforto might still be out there, isn't he, if I'm not mistaken? Tyler O'Neill, I'm not a big fan. Garrett Cole, he's done okay by, I believe, and still has Bregman and Burns. And I think Bregman and Burns will both get their money. Burns will get his money. He's not going to get shortchanged. He's not going to end up, I don't think, in the Snell situation because he's a better pitcher. If he, there's not a day of the week that Corbin Burns isn't a better pitcher than Snell. Did I say Matt Snell, by the way? If I did, I've done that before. He's obviously a better pitcher than Matt Snell. And Blake Snell's a better pitcher than Matt Snell as well. I skipped over that one, right? There's AC. How are you, buddy? We're just talking about some of the greats of MLB that have passed away this past year. Still shocked about Ricky. Again, you can like Ricky or not like Ricky. Ricky was one of the most dynamic players I've ever seen play. And the only one I ever saw talk about himself in the third person 100% of the time. I talked about Ricky recently with a couple of guys. Oh, gosh, who did I have on recently? We just talked about Ricky. Can't remember. Oh, but there's some guys you hate to see. There's some guys I've been chasing for years to get on the show and haven't managed to get them. Sadly, Al Fitzmaurice, Ed Kranepool. Mike Farrar was the guy I was chasing after. Pat Zachary I had reached out to. Ed Ott I'd reached out to a few times. So there's some guys that I really, again, would have enjoyed talking to. No, I didn't reach out to Willie Mays because I wasn't getting Willie Mays. So those are some of the guys that have passed away recently. If you got any more comments about any of them, feel free to share. Some of the great stories. And then we talked about the greatest living players for those who might have joined us. Ronnie Bear threw it out and then ran off. Probably working down there in Texas. Really miss Ronnie. Ronnie, I really miss your place this time of year, man. Go and watch some football games. If you're still there, man, Kittles was a great place to hang out. We had a lot of fun there. Here's a list, a partial list anyway, of great players. And by the way, Sandy Koufax wasn't on here. So the greatest living player now with Rose gone, with Ricky gone, Willie gone. They're mentioning these 20 to 20. By the way, Johnny Bench only comes up in the honorable mention here. Beltre, Bench, Jenkins, Robinson, Verlander are all in honorable mentions, by the way, here. What do you got here? Thank you for the birthdays. Yes, Chris F. has, I've been communicating with him. He hasn't been on the shows quite as much. I think Chris maybe working some different hours, or I think that's what the situation was. We missed Chris and his, I challenged him for irreverent information, and he more than lived up to the challenge. So here's birthdays. Today, Jordan Montgomery, Dylan Floro, Tyler Duffy, Addison Reed, Rick Porcello, Cole Hamels, Dave. It's funny, I just friended Dave Ardsma recently. Jim Larritz, I wished a happy birthday. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. We've been working on getting him on the show. Roy White, we've had on the show. It was a great interview. And super utility man, Phil Gagliano. Very good job filling in for Mr. F. Grave there, Drew. I'm going to go through this list. And I mentioned the honorable mention, guys. Here's this list, and I don't know where this is from. I have no idea. I just pulled one up just to have some reference. Number 20, Ken Griffey Jr. I would think he's higher. Nolan Ryan, 19, I'd have higher. George Brett, 18, I might have higher. Pedro, I'm putting behind all those guys. Pedro Martinez, great player, but he's behind all those guys. Carl Yastrzemski, higher. Gaylord Perry goes behind Pedro. I put Pedro and Perry together behind the guys I've mentioned already. Steve Carlton. Okay. Bert Blyleven, 13. I'm sorry, Bert. I love Bert. And by the way, his ex-wife, Patty, is a very lovely lady. And she pops and looks at the show as well. And pops in to look at the show sometimes as well. And we wish Patty well and a good holiday season for her. And I'll do you a favor. I'm putting Bert at the back of this. He's in the honorable mention to me. Great pitcher. Plus, he won't respond to me and get on the show. So I'm in Patty's side here. Wade Boggs. No way. Wade Boggs is better than Carl Yastrzemski, George Brett, Nolan Ryan, and Ken Griffey Jr. Wade Boggs, great player, great hitter. Sold his hat to, the highest bidder to get in the world, the Hall of Fame. Maybe I'm holding a grudge there. No. Cal Ripken, another great player and played in a lot of consecutive games, the most ever, obviously. No. I'm not putting him above the guys at the bottom of this list. Mike Trout, no. Couldn't stay healthy. Could have been on this list. Albert Pujols, he'll be on the list. I don't know if I'd have 9. Ricky, I might have higher than 8. Maddox, 7. I'm good there. Schmidt in the top 6, probably in the top 5. A-Rod, we know about the steroids. Randy Johnson, Clemens, Mays, Bonds. Bonds is obviously number 1 on this list. Mays is dead, by the way. Mays can't make this list. Sorry. But quite frankly, I'm moving Ricky up the list from 8 into the top 5. I'm moving Boggs down in about 20, maybe into honorable mention. Sorry. Ryan's in the top 10. Brett's in the top 10. Yastrzemski's in the top 10. Carlton's in the top 10. Yeah, not cool. Gio Urshela gets another chance to show his stuff with Oakland. We talked about Oakland trying to copy the Royals model. They're not doing. Listen. Oh, God. I don't know. Maybe playing in front of 14,000 fans will bring out the best in these guys. I don't know. It'll be like playing in the minor leagues, the low minor leagues. I don't get it. What are some of the top stories? Top stories in Major League Baseball this year. 13. Angel Hernandez retires. At the risk of upsetting my good friend, Dale Scott, great umpire in his day. And I know Dale doesn't like criticism of any umpires because Dale was very good, and I get it. The overall job that these guys do is phenomenal in my mind. You compare it to NFL referees and you compare it to college referees, night and day. The MLB umpires are much, much better. But you can't stick up for guys like Angel Hernandez and the horrible job they do and the lack of effort they put into doing their job well, because he just makes the rest of the profession look bad. And I'm sorry, Dale, if you see this, I know that you wanted, like Greg Rawlings, I think you dropped out of America's Pastime, the love of baseball. And I'm sad that you did, because I want to see the umpires in there. I know Greg Rawlings wants to see the umpires in there. And there was a lot of criticism about umpires in general, and I understand why Dale would be upset. But Angel Hernandez, those are the types of guys who give everybody a bad name. Can't defend these guys, man. Anybody notice how Spencer Horowitz was traded twice in the same day, first to Cleveland and then to Pittsburgh on the 10th? I did not notice that. Drew, I wasn't... quite frankly, I've got to look to see who the hell Spencer Horowitz is. Who is he? Oh my God! Please tell me he's no good. 12 homers, 40 RBIs. Well, he's a guy who I should know, I suppose. 2 seasons, one season, 39 at-bats in 2023. Quite frankly, I didn't pay much attention to the Blue Jays this year outside of the stars who might have got traded and the managerial watch, but that's an interesting move. I don't know if it's a moniker you really want. Other great stories. The Angelos stories, big stories in Major League Baseball. Angelos family finally sells the Orioles. Good news for Orioles fans. Now go make a splash and spend some money. You got a good team. Don't waste the window of opportunity that you have here. Where's JB? Sorry, it's a year-end special. And there's not a lot of baseball to talk about, so. Both the Mets and Braves make the playoffs on the last day. Yeah, so what? I mean, we've seen a lot of that through the years. Detroit Tigers make an improbable run at the postseason. Drew and I both predicted it. How big a story can that be? I'm kidding, Drew. Number 9. What this is to me? This is in the top 3. White Sox set a modern-day single-season loss record. Top 3. Maybe number 1. This record had stood for 60 plus years. Ricky Henderson passes away. That's number 8. Willie better be on here. Willie Mays passes away, number 7. Put that in the top 5. Paul Skeens' historic rookie season. He went 11-3, 1.96 ERA, made 23 starts, 170 strikeouts over 133 innings. You know, it's a great rookie season. Is that the best rookie season we've ever seen, though? I mean, we have to take wins out of the equation, obviously. It was a great rookie season. I don't know that I'd make it number 6 on the biggest stories of the year, though. Athletics officially bolt Oakland, yes, especially considering the fact they don't have any place to go. Aaron Judge historic season, 58 homers, 148. Yeah, again, these would not be. There was a time in baseball these numbers would not have been, as big a deal. This wasn't as good. I mean, I guess you could say that in a way this season was as good as, or maybe better than, his 62 home run season. But I don't think I'm going to put it number 4. Dodgers win the World Series over the Yankees. Obviously, the World Series winner in any season is important. I don't think it's one of the top 5 stories, though. To me, Ohtani's number 1. They've got him number 2, and they got Juan Soto's contract. 600. To me, I put Soto's contract at the back of this list. It's important, but it didn't take place on the field. So I'm going to rearrange this. I'm okay with some of these things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head I'd replace it with. I'd put Ohtani 1. I would put the A's leaving Oakland 2. I would put Mays 3, Henderson 4. No, sorry, White Sox top 3. I'll put them 3rd. Then I'm going to move Mays and Henderson back to 4 and 5. I'm just going to give you my 10. And that's it. I'll give you my top 5. Angelo selling the Angels, I think, is important. Yeah, that's my top 5. I can't get excited over some of these things. I think the Red Sox, the Crochet trade will come back and bite the Red Sox in the butt. They give up 4 high-level prospects for a guy that will get injured the 3rd time he pitches. You might be giving him too much credit, Drew. You think he'll make it 3 starts? 3 times through rotation? He's bound to get hurt. I mean, if he came to the Yankees, I would have said in his first start. Jackson, Jackson Merrill's quick switch from center field to shortstop and how he did at only 2021 is a great story. I agree it's a great story. I might even, put him on a top 20 list. This one only started at 13. I mean, I'm not sure I would put controversial umpire retiring in there. It's a top story if he stays, quite frankly. Angelo stays. I'm dropping the Mets and Braves making a World Series out of this list. Tigers, maybe, because they did have a great run at the end of the season. They'll make the top 10. White Sox, obviously, up higher. Henderson Mays up higher. Move Skins back to the back of this list. That's not the best. I mean, it's a tremendous rookie season. I don't think it's the best rookie season ever. Fernando, by the way, in a strike shortened season, 13-7. This team won the World Series too, by the way. Just saying. Some of that still matters, right? My favorite, Jackson Profar. Actually, yes, I wouldn't put this on a top story list, but of fortuitous situations, Jerkson Profar having a career year before hitting free agency was definitely important. Actually, let me look. Has anybody? I had the signings up here that we missed out on. I think we covered them all. Did Profar sign yet, Drew? Jerkson, you can probably tell me before I can look it up. I don't know that he signed anywhere yet. I'd like to see this guy sign with the Yankees, but and it looks to me like he's still a free agent. Could sign with the this is 2 hours ago. Said he may sign with, I'm going to say, the Giants. You're not going to tell me what team in the NL West. San Francisco Giants. This is a guy the Yankees could make use of because again, he's not going to be guaranteed a starting position if he comes here because the Yankees still need backup outfielders in my mind. And right now they're counting on Dominguez to be able to play. Whether it's center field, I think whether you play Bellinger in center or left kind of depends on Dominguez. He actually appears to be a better center fielder than a left fielder. So a guy like Jackson, I have no idea why I do that. Profar would be, I think, a good addition for the Yankees for depth in that outfield myself. Yeah, hadn't signed yet. Is he who's his agent, by the way? Let's see if this tells me real quick. Don't know. Anyway, let's look at some of these other. Did I miss any of the other big signings since we last chatted last week? Obviously, the big names still out there: Burns, Alonso, Bregman. I guess we'll look to see who's still left out there. McCutchen returns to the Pirates, as I mentioned. Look, the Pirates are going nowhere, right? Working very hard, by the way. And I know he's been busy. Clinton Hurdle, former Pirate and Rocky manager, and one-time rookie phenom himself, Clinton Hurdle, is going to be on the show here at some point, hopefully in January. Clint and I have conversed. He's been very busy doing these types of shows. He has a very, if you don't follow him on Facebook, you should. He's got a very interesting and inspirational little soundbite that he does. I don't know if it's every day, but it's a few times a week. And there's some really cool stuff that he covers. Walker Buehler signs a 1-year, $21 million contract with the Red Sox. The Rangers added Peterson, probably overpaid it for him, is my guess. Manaea, as Drew mentioned earlier, signed with the Mets, 3 years, $75 million. That's a good deal. Good job, Scott Boras. Phillies bolster their rotation with Luzardo. I like this kid a lot. Pitched well, had interesting numbers with a really bad team. I think this helps the Phillies a lot in the National League East. Nathaniel Lowe, longtime first baseman for quite a while first baseman for the Rangers, signs with the Nationals. We talked about the Guardians basically trading Naylor and replacing him with Santana. Feels like another guy who graduated just behind me in high school. Goldschmidt signs a 1-year deal with the Yankees for $12 million. This is not I think this is as good as the Yankees can do. I know Drew mentioned it's basically Rizzo 2.0, but I think Goldschmidt's got a little more left in the tank than Rizzo. And I'll miss Rizzo for his defense, for his leadership. I'm going to hope that Paul Goldschmidt can find a little bit of a fountain of youth by having a change of scenery in a new league. And we'll see how that works out for the Yankees. The guy I would have liked to have seen signed with the Astros, I think that was during our show last Friday. And the Yankees shipping out Trevino, by the way, is not a big deal. I got into this with somebody. Now, it was off the show, too. I know came up on the Sunday show, and I know that jumped on it then. But Trevino can no longer throw guys out. He might be the worst catcher in baseball when it comes to throwing guys out. Nobody had ever given up 9 steals in a game before. Sandoval. What else? What I missed today? Got 4 minutes left or a couple more if there's anything left to talk about. Let me just refresh my news from The Athletic, see if there's anything going on there. They got weirdest stories of 2024. Maybe we'll dive into that later. Joe Ross signed with the Phillies. Do you remember Joe Ross actually came up with a decent prospect with the Padres and had some arm injuries and never worked out? If I can get into this. A couple trivia questions here. Oh, I got to try this. I'm going to play this out later. Retirements. This is number 1. Elvis Andrus, who retired in September, was a leadoff hitter in the Texas Rangers' first World Series game in 2009 or 2010. He singled and was driven in by which future Hall of Famer? Can't be that hard. Baines, Beltre, Guerrero, obviously Beltre. I guess they're my answers. Charlie Blackmon, who retired after 14 seasons, is one of 9 Colorado hitters to win the NL batting title. Only one of the following hitters is among those 9. Which ones? Matt Holliday, Dante Bichette, Alex Burks, Troy Tulowitzki. Matt Holliday. I wish we could play this together. Maybe I'll save this and we'll play it next week. I think I've got those first 2 right, but we don't have enough time to fart around with that. What else you got for me? Anybody, anything? Quiet crowd today. That's okay. We're going to get those There's Scott Kobe. Unfortunately, we're breaking news today. Scott Kobe, former Red Sox great, has decided to announce his retirement from MLB, I think effective immediately. It's been a great career, but the pitch clock is making him retire. I'm sorry. Backman was Backman. 2 guys on that list, by the way, Drew. I guess I don't know about Tulowitzki only because he was hurt all the time he was out of there. The one who was not, I would say Matt Holliday, not a product of Coors Field quite as much as Bichette. Burks had a good career with the Red Sox before. Dante Bichette, definitely. And I would say Charlie Blackmon. Great player. I mean, a fine player. I use great too much. A fine player, but definitely a product of Coors Field. Sox need one more bat and he'll be happy. Would you really be happy with this offseason, Scott? You're in late, Scott. Now you're going to make me go over. The bosses don't like me when I put in overtime on this show. So you're a Red Sox fan, and you're really, let's take a look at their offseason moves, because I think we talked about this Sunday. I don't think you were there, Scott. And I do value your opinion because it's a intelligent one. I'm going to look at their offseason grade. So give me a grade, because you think picking up, oh my gosh, right? This is last year. Can I get there? March 24. No, this is all for this year. This is last year. Well, how about this year? Jeez. 2024. Help me out, man. October 15th, 2024. I need something from like a week ago. So you like crochet. think he'll get hurt. And how about who's the pitcher we were talking about, Drew? That, my God, he won't pitch for like at least half a season. Where is he? Oh, Sandoval. Another lefty, by the way. I think so. You got 2 injury issues at pitchers that you signed. Giving up some really good prospects, I think, for Crochet too. They would have had Castillo from the Mariners, but the Mariners were willing to take Yoshida and Casas. By the way, I had this argument with another Red Sox fan that the Yankees should sign Alonso, but the Red Sox don't need him. I don't want him, but he's telling me the Yankees need him more than the Red Sox. I'd argue that he's a better, and I'm not an Alonso fan, but I think the Red Sox could use him over Casas and Yoshida. Listen, if I'm the Mariners, I'm not making that trade. They need bats, the Mariners. I get it, but I'm not blowing up that pitching staff. And they have some other good pitchers. To me, the Mariners have the makings of the best pitching staff in American League, if not baseball. I'm happy because they did something this offseason compared to last. So we set the bar low. Setting the bar low is important in these matters, Scott. Spoken like a true Red Sox fan. Sox will need way more than just a bat. Giolito and Crochet. Well, Giolito's going to get hurt. That guy's gotten more out of like one good year than anybody I can think of. Oh, B-, really? I got a hard time giving him more than a C, man. We'll see, though. Again, it's all conjecture at this point, right? That's what's good. That's what's fun about this time of year. Everybody thinks they make a good. I thought this was Scott. I forgot about Chapman. Wait till the first time he starts giving up home runs to right-handers right and left. Justin Wilson, Sandoval, Austin Adams, Carlos. I like Narvaez a little bit. I don't see it improving the team a whole lot. And now, if these guys all come through and Crochet stays healthy and Sandoval comes back and pitches like lights out in the second half, well, maybe. And Walker Buehler, I will say this. That's a good. I'm glad you brought that one up, Drew. Because, Scott, I'll tell you, I like Walker Buehler a lot, and I wish the Yankees could have signed him for 1 year, $21 million. That is a gamble worth taking because healthy, Walker Buehler is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Well, you gave us Babe Ruth like 100 years ago as well, but I'm not giving you Aaron Judge under any circumstances, my friend. You could give me Devers. You don't have anybody else besides Devers, do you? Just kidding. Scott, thanks for coming in today. I hope you had a great Christmas, by the way, Scott. And I hope you're holding up okay. As you know, thoughts and prayers are with you all the time, especially this holiday season. Also, anybody else who's going through any struggles at all. Chris Martin and Pivetta were losses. Pivetta pitched pretty well. B, I would say. I'm here. I am agreeing with Drew. Are you happy now, Scott? I would say C. I don't know if I can go C plus. But again, the moves they made, and Scott says at least they're making moves. Some are gambles, and if they pay off, then this becomes, A minus territory. But you need a lot to come through. Good. I'm glad you did, buddy. It's a new year coming. And lots of good things are going to happen. I've got a great feeling. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for popping in. Our last show of 2024. You guys have a great weekend. Scott, if you rewatch, you'll see we went through some of the well-known and the lesser well-known players that have passed away this year. And, our thoughts and prayers are with them. You want Goldschmidt to the Sox? I don't know. As long as I don't take Casas. Well, just do this. Go out and sign Alonso and forget about it. that cash, man. You can do it. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for your participation today and every day. We'll see you Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. Scott, please pop in. We're going to have a lot to talk about Sunday. We got college football, we got baseball, we got football, football, and then we'll talk about. Oh, by the way, thanks to my guest. Watch this interview. He's a really good NFL player with the Cowboys. His story is very inspirational, and the way he talked about give back, and the way he is a very successful division at Aurora University. Tremendous, and what an upstanding individual Don Beebe really is. And there's going to be a movie in 2026. And there's talk about me playing Don Beebe in that movie. Just I may break some news here. I'm probably breaking it to Don if he's watching as well. But thank you to Don. Next week on 101, Richard Todd, former Jet quarterback, in 2 weeks, Tony Collins, former Patriot great. You're going to want to be here for that one. Doing the show, you have a Happy New Year. Okay, you say your Happy New Year. That's fine. Yeah, I know. I turn the music on, then I got more to say. Guys, I'll see you Sunday. Keith Engle for MLB Update. See you later. Bye-bye.